Welcome to the Power Factor Show. Episode 139. Sponsored by Rainier Ballistics, Hodgdon Powders, and JPL Precision.
Hi, welcome to Power Factor. I'm Larry, and we got a quick episode for you this week. We're going to talk about the new 2013 USPSA rules on equipment rules. But first, let's take care of some business on our trivia question that we posed in episode 134 at Northwest Safe. The question was, how do you spell David Balistrasi's last name? And out of all the entries we got, it was on the main page of their website. Of course, like we said, it was designed to guide you towards their website and maybe get some business going their way. In order to thank them for doing the episode, it was a lot of fun. The winner for that episode was Brian Biltz. So Brian, congratulations. You're going to get yourself, I believe, it might be our last Rainier Ballistics gift certificate. And lucky you, because I heard Rainier is not giving out any more certificates this year. They are way too slammed on regular business to be giving stuff away. They just can't keep up. So that's good for them. Congratulations to Brian and to our friends at Rainier for the excellent market they're enjoying this time. So next, let's talk about the new 2013 USPSA equipment rules. Now, we've been thinking about this for a long time, and recently, there's a new IDPA rule book going into effect that you're hearing a lot about. Rick's been talking about, and that got me thinking, we never really did sit down and talk about the new USPSA equipment rules. And there's a couple reasons why, really. About, let's say October, November 2012, it was known that these rule changes were coming. And so we were waiting for the official announcement and our new rule books to show up with these new rules, and that's when we were going to talk to you about it, and we were planning on doing that in January or February, and the new rule book never came. And so we waited till February and March, and I would check the mailbox, of course, and check online and all this kind of stuff to figure out, when's this new rule book going to come so that we can talk about it on the show? And it turns out there's no new rule book coming. And I guess I could see why. I mean, it'll cost a lot to print books and send them out to 25,000 people free of charge. And then the rule changes were not that drastic. So, you could amend the rule book you had, essentially. Now, another complaint of mine, I guess, is that it didn't seem like there was a real official announcement from USPSA on their website or anywhere. There was a lot of talk on Brian Eno's forum when it was probably January 2012 when these rules were first proposed and thrown out there, and there was a feeding frenzy. There was talk about a trigger pull limitation on production division, for example, that we were going to have a minimum pull weight of, 3.5 pounds or 3 pounds or something like that. And everybody was all up in arms like, oh my gosh, you can't do this. And so after, most of the year, half the year, they backed off that one. In that time frame, Phil Strader took over as president and listened to the membership and put in place some new rules that everyone could be happy with. But anyway, there's a lot of talk on the forum. There was, I guess everybody that's active on the forum knew about what was going on. If you got your Front Sight magazine, I believe John Amadon's column in the January issue of Front Sight, January 2013 issue, talked about, here's the new rules. But other than that, there wasn't a lot of announcement officially from USPSA, and that I was a little bit miffed by that. I don't know if you guys, were aware that this was happening or has already happened, or if maybe you're already aware of it, but it didn't seem like they announced it very well. So I even went today. Here we are in August of 2013, and I went today just to verify on the USPSA website. You download the rule book, and it's still the same printed copy that I received back in 2010 when they did some significant enough amendments to warrant printing a new book. This is 2008 with 2010 amendments. So now 2013 rolls around, no new book. But I mean, not even, it's a little bit of a complaint, I guess, but not even an electronic copy has been amended for download off the website. I would think as new members come in, they want to, or as they're interested in coming in, they want to download the rule book, see what the sport's all about. It'd be nice if the rule book was up to date on the website. So we'll go through here and just kind of talk about the new rules, new equipment rules in USPSA that took effect officially January 1, 2013. Open division didn't change. Open's always been, if you can drag it to the line, it's pretty much legal. Your magazine length is about your only restriction, that and the caliber. So move on to limited division. And there was some welcome changes to limited division and limited 10. This applies to limited 10 also. The guns are the same, whether you've got 10 rounds in the magazine or a full 140 millimeter fully loaded magazine. Otherwise, the guns are the same. So used to be in limited division, there was this rule of 500. Now there's a rule of 2,000 in production division. There's got to be 2,000 units of a pistol produced in production division to make it legal, to even have it eligible to be legal for the division in USPSA. That way there's no prototypes. The company has some intention of producing mass quantities of that pistol. It's available to the general public and so forth. So in limited though, it was a rule of 500. And the way that read, and I'll read that to you, under special conditions, any complete handgun or components with a minimum production of 500 units by a factory and available to the general public. That was one of the requirements for limited division. Now, the intent of that was to subvert any kind of prototypes. So you had people out there that prior to that rule, they were making all kinds of different prototype, guns that some felt were unfair. If you had the money, the resources, and the skills, whatever, to build something that wasn't, limited is kind of a production. It was viewed as kind of a production, like service pistol or, iron-sighted gun, practical pistol. Anyway, at the time. So they have this rule of 500 units, so that now it says complete handgun. So you could buy your Para P1640 or your STI Edge, and that was a complete handgun, and there's way more than 500 of those produced, no problem. But then people also build custom guns, and so what do you do with a custom gun? So that's where they have their or components. But then they had some funny ways of interpreting that rule. So you would have there been 500 bull barrels produced? Sure, of course. In a 5-inch 40 caliber variety? Of course. Have there been 500 6-inch 40 caliber bull barrels produced? Of course. And then, the list goes on with all these components. 5-inch slides, 6-inch slides, classic barrels, bushing with a bushing. There's 500 of all these things. But then what happens when you get into the guy that wants to run a 5-inch slide because it's lighter with a 6-inch barrel? Well, wait a minute, not legal. It's been deemed as being not legal. But why? There's 500 slides have been produced, 500 of these barrels have been produced. Why can I not put them together? There's interpretations that was getting into prototype territory. So this rule book, these new rules rather, do away with that. Let me first kind of go back through all the changes here, and we'll kind of talk more about that. So as we get into the limited division, all the parameters that define that division. You come all the way down here to Rule Part 19, handgun specifically approved for division, yes, see special conditions. Well, that's now no. There is no handgun and no special conditions anymore. But what it used to be was authorized modifications. There were internal modifications to improve accuracy. This was explicitly allowed as authorized. You could improve accuracy, reliability, and function, such as using spherical bushings and AccuRails. Replacement barrels were allowed, provided they're the same length as original factory standard. That's where you get into that 6-inch barrel on a 5-inch gun. So that's where they interpreted that, saying can't do that because it doesn't match up to any factory gun ever produced to that point. You may exchange minor components such as springs, safety, slide stops, and guide rods. Prohibited modifications. External modifications are features such as weights or devices to control or reduce recoil, such as but not limited to thumb rests, specifically mentioned, or components which could be used as such. So maybe this bolt is not sold as a thumb rest, but I'm using it as one. So back before this 2013 change, that would not have been legal. Other weights or devices to control or reduce recoil. Well, there was like muzzle weights and things like that that could exist or did exist on the market for maybe for bullseye guns, and people tried to bring them in and tame the recoil in USPSA. So that was outlawed. Special conditions, we talked about the 500 complete guns or components. A complete handgun may be approved for USPSA limited division after the NROI manufacturer's declaration form stating that minimum of 500 have been manufactured and available to the general public has been submitted to NROI and NROI has inspected the handgun for compliance. Handguns on the approved production handgun list are authorized. So automatically, if you've got a pistol that's on the approved handgun production list, it's automatically legal for limited. So that's what it was prior to January 1, 2013. So the tough part was the proof of 500 components. So for example, the sight tracker, the Infinity sight tracker pistol was deemed to be legal for limited because there was 500 produced at the time whenever that gun first kind of showed up and became legalized. I'm going to say 2004, 2005, something like that. And we'll throw one up here on the screen for you, and you can see what that looks like. You see the front sight's attached to the barrel, and when the slide recoils, the front sight doesn't retract very much. It comes back about a 1/4 inch when the barrel recoils, and then the slide moves freely, and the front sight just stays out there. Lisa Munson showed you her pistol on the episode that we had her on, and hers was a sight tracker style pistol. Now, I know a lot of people cried foul back then and said, oh, this is custom work and it's whatever, but USPSA deemed it legal and there was 500 produced. But that was only for 5-inch 40 caliber, period. So if someone wanted to do a limited gun in minor with 9mm, wasn't allowed. Never was allowed. The only one that was ever approved was the 5-inch 40. If you want to do a 6-inch 40, you're out of luck. It was even if Schumann, who made the barrels, could come up with the paperwork. I don't know if they didn't have the time to come up with the paperwork. I don't know if they didn't produce 500. People were out there saying that, yes, they've made 500. Please let me build this pistol. And USPSA always denied it, from what I heard. That's maybe hearsay, so I don't want any hate mail from USPSA saying that's wrong. But anyway, that's kind of the gist of it. People were wanting to build these guns, and they weren't able to because there was, in that case, the sight tracker, there was only the 5-inch 40 approved. So now, all that stuff I read you goes away. There's no more authorized modifications. There's no more prohibited modifications. There's no more special conditions. No more 500 components. So limited division now is simply iron sights, no optics. You don't have to have sights if you don't want sights, but you can't have optics, no compensators, and a magazine length of 141.25 millimeters is the absolute maximum magazine length. The minimum caliber is still 9x19 minimum allowed, but the minimum for major is still 40 Smith & Wesson. And otherwise, nothing else has changed. But the implications of that change are huge. So, and really rather exciting. So it takes the burden now off the manufacturers to prove that they've made 500 of these guns or these components. It takes the it allows the custom gunsmiths to get creative now and not have to prove that this is not some kind of a prototype, and not have their competitor that spent $3,000 or $4,000 on the gun show up at a nationals only to get rejected or tossed into open division because it doesn't deemed to not fit in limited. So this is exciting stuff, and it really opens the door for some creativity, especially on these custom gunsmiths. So we'll just throw a picture of a pistol up here on the screen. Now this is a picture of my pistol, the one I used to own, wish I still owned, and it doubled as a the frame on this pistol. I had two top ends for this. You're looking at the limited gun, 6-inch top end, built by JPL from our show, and it also doubled as an open gun. I had an open top end for this. So the holes in the frame there, that was for my optic mount, and I would mount the thumb rest outboard on the outside of the optic mount. So I was getting ready, before I sold this pistol, I was getting ready for this big rule change and thought, hey, let's check out my limited gun with this thumb rest, and boy, it was quite comfortable. So and like I said, I read you off the rules. Thumb rests were specifically disallowed before. Now that's off, that's been removed, and it's open, you're wide open. You can put your thumb rest on your limited gun now, and that aligns us with IPSC now. IPSC Standard Division, those guys could always have thumb rests. I don't know about always, but they've had thumb rests on their standard division guns for a long time, which is basically a limited gun that has to fit in a box of a certain size with a magazine inserted, and with the thumb rest on as well. So it can't be too wide with the thumb rest. But anyway, and I think partially it was good timing. Well, it was a good thing anyway, just to get rid of that 500 component. But the timing was good because the next World Shoot is in the U.S. And that now our U.S. competitors that will shoot the World Shoot in Florida when it comes around in about a year and a half or something like that, they might already have guns with thumb rests if they deem that that's an advantage to compete with the European competitors that come over here. So that's exciting. So anyway, anyway, like I said, that's my pistol. That's what it used to look like. That's what it looks like with the thumb rest on it. But otherwise, it was legal for limited without the thumb rest. Now let's toggle over and let's see the extreme end here of the implications of these new rules. What you're looking at here on the screen is a custom gun from Matt Cheely Custom Gun Works, and you can find him he's active on Brian Eno's forum. You can look him up on Facebook. The image I'm looking at is posted on his Facebook page, and this is like about the most extreme end of the spectrum of this new limited gun rule, and it's really exciting. I mean, take a look at this thing. At first glance, it looks like an open gun. You've got a slide racker, you've got your thumb rest, and you've got what was a blank compensator. It was never cut to be a comp, but it's installed on the barrel, looks to me exactly like a compensator would be. Now this sort of somewhat mimics the STI True Sight. I don't know if you guys ever found that one or remember that one. It was STI's answer to SV's sight tracker, where STI had a blank compensator with the front sight out there. So when the slide recoiled back and forth, the front sight was out there, not hardly moving at all. Same effect as the sight tracker. But they had what they called an expansion chamber. So there was, when the bullet left the barrel, there was this chamber inside the comp before it got tight again at the exit of their expansion chamber. And I don't know, people cried foul and said, oh, it's a compensator even if it doesn't have ports and whatever. USPSA deemed it legal, and I don't see why not, really. So now this kind of in a similar concept, now you've got this blank comp with the front sight hanging out there. So you've got the sight radius. This thing's got the sight radius easily of a 6-inch gun. It might be a quarter to a half inch longer, just guessing, on a 5-inch slide. Actually, looking at it now, I think it's been cut back to about 4.5. So it's probably a 6-inch sight radius with a 5-inch barrel and a 4.5-inch slide. Pretty radical. And exactly, I welcome the change. I don't know, some people might think that this cry foul and think that this is heresy, but I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting to just open it up. Hey, why not? It's still iron sights. The effect, sure, it looks pretty radical and it looks like an open gun, but it's not an open gun. You still have 140 millimeter mags. You still have iron sights. What the heck? I think it's exciting. I think it's pretty cool. So anyway, let us know what you think on that, and tell Matt Sheila you like his pistol. Maybe he'll sponsor our show and give us one of them. So let's move on to production division. There was, limited 10, like I said, same changes in limited 10. Production division and single stack. This is going to be short. I'm just going to wrap up the show with this. There's not a huge change, but they've now clarified the magnet issue. If I go back to, I don't know, rule 4 point, nah, it's not 4. Sorry, I should have looked this up ahead of time. 524, Steve Zophi's favorite rule. Rule 5.2.4, during the course of fire, after the start signal, unless stipulated otherwise, spare ammunition, magazines, and or speed loading devices shall be carried in, that's Steve's big word, in retention devices attached to the competitor's belt and specifically designed for that purpose. So we're talking about mag pouches. And then these magnets showed up, and Double Alpha and I don't know, various companies made these magnetic mag pouch where it's just simply a magnet attached to your belt. And people used them. There was never a real good feeling as to whether they were legal or not. There was all this focus on the word in, the mag pouch, the mag needs to be stored in. I don't know. I didn't really care either way. It wasn't up to me anyway to make that determination, to make that judgment. But I felt like, the magnets weren't thought about when they made the rule. It is a device specifically designed for that purpose, to carry magazines. Why not? But now we have a definitive rule, and it is each magazine must be contained individually within the mag pouch, and magazines may not be retained through magnetic means. So now we have a definitive rule on magnets. That is true for production division and single stack as well. So of course magnets are legal in open. Almost everything's legal in open. Now we have some language that says, therefore it must be legal in limited and limited 10 as well. So at least we got that clarified. I don't know whether Steve's happy about it or not, but at least it's been clarified. We talked about the new rules that are now in effect and have been in effect for the last 8 months. Whether or not I feel like it was officially announced, but anyway, they are official now. And in my checking the website before the episode here, just to make sure that I was speaking the truth about whether they announced it officially or modified the rule book online. I find something very interesting. If you go to USPSA.org, if you're a member especially, and click on the Rules tab and scroll down the page a bit, and there is a Handgun Rules Summary of Changes for Member Comment. I opened that up. It takes you to the USPSA forum, and you need to be a member of that, which is, as long as you're a USPSA member, you can get in for free and participate in the discussion. There's, I forget, I went through it. There's like 15 pages of text on there with some rules modifications, and I just discovered this tonight, so I'll go through it, and we'll do another episode on that. And I'll make my comments publicly, and hopefully Rick can join as well. And we'll go through that and make our comments publicly, and who knows, maybe USPSA will hear our opinions and weigh in, and let us weigh in on that as official firearms media. And now, like I said, I just discovered this tonight. I have been so busy. Maybe everyone on the forums already knows about this on Brian Enos. Maybe it's well publicized, but man, I have not been active at all lately. I've been so busy at work. So otherwise, this week we're gonna have a trivia question for you. In USPSA, you've got your paper targets, and traditionally there's a lath piece of wood. We just call them target sticks that support the target. Are target sticks hardcover or soft cover in USPSA? Send us your answer and cite the rule in the rule book. I'll give you a hint. It's in chapter 9. So cite the rule, give me your answer, and do it through our email at powerfactorshow@gmail.com. If you have any questions about the show, you can send it to the email or put it on Facebook. Please like us on Facebook. We're at facebook.com/powerfactorshow. Of course, we're on YouTube at Power Factor Show, and our website, powerfactorshow.com. That's where you'll find the little donate button. If you like what we do, we donate our time. Don't really get much out of it except for enjoyment. We really do enjoy talking to you guys and answering your questions, and interacting with everyone on Facebook, at the range, on email, whatever else. It's a lot of fun for us. If you like what you see, if we've helped you out, just kick back a couple of ducats. That'd be nice. So help pay for the internet and everything else, that the equipment and everything else that we use. So anyway, I'm not going to harp on that. So catch us next week, and we'll see you later. Thanks.